leads to reduced energy. And then, as we discussed, the better crop management and maintain optimum crop growth rate, these systems enable that. And then monitoring crop or product conditions in real time, which is also, very, very useful. And then these enable, predicting yield and make informed decisions. And then they also enable preventing, the diseases, because you have been monitoring regularly. And then if there is any, early incidents can be detected, and then action can be taken so that that does not spread to the entire crop area. And then there is a reduced input use and high cost efficiency, especially in terms of reduced fertilizer application, for example, or pesticide application. And then, as I mentioned, this also enables, less human involvement because of several processes being automated. And it also enables, conserving soil and then soil structure and then, soil nutrients, because you apply less water, so there's less runoff, so there's less loss of nutrients and water from the field to the adjoining areas. So overall, it also enables cleaner and more efficient processes throughout the production system. There are also certain barriers of these smart irrigation systems. Not everything is positive here. For example, these devices consume sometimes high power, but of course solar panels can be used to minimize those costs of some of them, but not all. And then these hardware equipment are exposed to harsh environmental conditions, are therefore they're prone to damage, and then these are expensive sometimes, so then there are also possibility for weak communications signals. This is basically, again, there may not be internet at all the farms. So that could be a challenge also. And then, lack of IoT knowledge and applications to farmers. So farmers also need some training, in order to be able to use these support app that, we developed at, Texas A. 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 aquifer, and these cotton acreages, have been declining. Due to the reduced well capacities and frequent occurrence of droughts in this model-based irrigation set. So we use the DSAT model here. Basically, it uses the weather, soil, cultivar, and management data from the field to estimate crop yield, crop growth, and it also estimates, the soil, water, carbon, nitrogen balances. So this data will be used, for predicting, the end of the season crop yield. And then this data will be used in an economic model to estimate, the basically economics. So sensors which are kept in the soil and they need to be replaced, or sort of taken out and then put them back, in. So we basically used a canopy cover sensor, which is NDVI sensor basically, and then a canopy temperature sensor that I showed in the picture, and then it has this data logger, and then we also use the GPS to track which part of the field is basically under which type of stress. So a little bit more details about the IRT sensor, infrared temperature sensor. So this is how it looks like. It is used for the canopy temperature, a monitor canopy temperature. And in the interest of time, I am going to a little bit go fast here. So this is highly accurate and it has a rugged design. And basically this we used in our project, and then we mounted it at 45-degree angle so that it will keep monitoring, because the center pivot irrigation system rotates in a circle. So as it moves, it continuously monitors the crop status. With a 45-degree angle. So more details can be for the entire growing season. So as this growing season progresses, so this app is to be displayed on the mobile app so that the producers can choose a strategy that best fits their goals, like depending on how much precipitation. In the economic model, basically, it estimates the net returns by subtracting the total cost from the gross revenue, and it also gives users, options. Basically, the net return distributions, and then the analysis result, the producers. Or you make better decisions. So this is how, the input parameterization input all these details. And then using those details, and then, the automatically generated weather data, and then the cultivar coefficients. The model basically, the app generate, so that's how I put some slides here, but I know I'm a little bit running out of time because we need some time for questions. Answers as well. Basically, we mock-ups were used, to design the user interface, and then, API was developed using open API specification. So these details I, got from my colleague who is a computer increasing and it went. There's also a need for more focus on overcoming data management and security issues to promote their increased adoption in different fields. And there are also, more efforts are needed to reduce the cost of IoT-based systems because these sensors are sometimes expensive, and then, their maintenance, and then, is also, involves some money there. And then most importantly, the more training and more, the reference manuals need to be developed so that, user would be comfortable, using these IoT-based systems. So we'd like to thank Texas A&M Water Initiative, which, funded this research. And we wrote, another proposal that is under review now in USDA. Where we want to further update this app to add more crops like sorghum and then corn, which are important in this region. And also we are planning to extend this to the Texas High Plains, which is another highly irrigated region. And we also thank 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Foundation because this program is available for our use. And then, this is my contact information. If you need any additional information, please email me. I'll be happy to provide or answer any questions. Thank you for your attention. Once again, it's really an honor, to be, given this opportunity to present some of our work. And we have ongoing collaboration with colleagues, Professor Gopal Naik and Professor Gupta, on a different project, and my colleague Dr. Jaber gave a talk yesterday about green infrastructure. Thank you. Any questions? I'll be happy to take any questions.
Yeah. So good morning, or okay, yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Almost 11:35, 11:38.
Yeah, I'm Chandrasekhar from Electronic Communication Engineering Department.
Okay.
I have a question. Your presentation is very interesting. How best we can adapt to the Indian system?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, the main concern there is use, those TikTok and other things. So it's not. But again, the another concern is, the data availability. For example, for our project, we have, all these data that, I'm sorry to say this, but, some of the rainfall data was also, we needed to pay, for our project with Osmania University colleagues, actually. So that surprises me because these are supposed to be, made available freely to the public so that people can use this data for, decision making, actually. So 3 concerns. Hello, Professor Shrikant. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, sir. Good morning. Hope you remember me.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, thank you. A very nice presentation on the IoT applications in agriculture and drought management. Probably you could have also extended to drought management about your IoT based systems. More value, that's what I'm thinking. Of course, it can be this much dust has been also and also we have extended
Yeah, thank you
We're
very much.
grateful for your time
Once again,
and
I
effort.
appreciate the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patient hearing. Once again, I appreciate the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patient hearing.
Moving on further, sometimes it takes only an act of kindness and care to change a person's life. Our next speaker, Professor 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗃, is a professor of healthcare applications of design at PDR, Cardiff Metropolitan University. His work applies user-centered design combined with advanced computer-aided design and manufacturing methods to improve the way healthcare is delivered across the world. He is also the director of Trinity Creative Limited. He has authored many academic publications and showcased his work internationally. Professor 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗃's research and its intrinsic link to reforming the way healthcare is delivered has formed a part of a high-impact study.
Stop. Yeah, you're welcome to. One second.
Sometimes it takes only an act of kindness and care to change a person's life. And one such person who's acing the healthcare systems is present amongst us today, Professor 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗃. Professor 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗃 is a professor of healthcare applications of design at PDR Cardiff Metropolitan University. His work applies user-centered design combined with advanced computer-aided design and manufacturing methods to improve the way healthcare is delivered across the world. He has authored many academic publications and showcased his work internationally. Professor 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗃's research and its intrinsic link to transforming the way healthcare is delivered across the world has formed a part of a high-impact case study for REF 2014 and led to a Queen's Anniversary Prize for Higher and Further Education in 2015. Sir has coordinated numerous conferences, workshops, and webinars. Funding has been awarded from sources including the British Council, local government, research council, foundations, and industries. He has experience developing an ISO 13485 compliant commercial team with broad-ranging customers in UK hospitals, research groups, and industry. Thank you so much, sir, for inspiring us to further explore and develop innovative solutions for the care of mankind. We'll definitely imbibe all the teachings that you'll give us now. I now request Professor 𝗳𝗏𝗧 to please address the gathering. Please give him a huge round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'll present my screen now.
Yes.
Excellent. So, hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I've turned subtitles on, so hopefully it's easier for people to understand as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we do what we do, why this field I think is important, and some of the challenges and what the future might hold. So I head the Surgical and Prosthetic Design Group in PDR, and we start with the vision, which is that top healthcare should be of an all-inclusive global level. So all the research projects and all the commercial work and teaching work we do is aligned to this. So I'm going to cover why it is important. I'm going to talk about some of the missions we've undertaken to undertake in maxillofacial and orthopedic surgery, in facial and body prosthetics, in 3D printing for orthotics and adaptive sports, and finally, the very boring but essential field of regulatory and quality management requirements, and conclude a little bit about what the future may hold in the field. So we always like to start out with why we do something. And personalised healthcare is something that's extremely important because million people in this world, everybody with unique needs, unique aspirations. The way we do design engineers is with people designing systems that are not ourselves. So we must learn from those who have lived experiences with designing, making and engineering products for. And this is a very important part of our profession. We must keep this in mind whenever we're designing. We're not designing for ourselves, we're designing for others. So a little bit about how things started, which for me was back in 2003, where I joined a very competent team who had some excellent solutions and excellent hardware solutions. So I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with software such as Freeform. So this is a computer-aided design software that allows you to work in an environment that's more like carving clay than it is an engineering tool. The video is not shown very smoothly here, but it shows you can actually carve very complex, in this case, anatomy in a computer-aided design environment. So when I joined in 2003, we already had a version of the software, and we were some of the very first to use it for medical. We also had some very old now stereolithography machines, so very industrial equipment for 3D printing or into how we've used technologies to treat diseases, to treat trauma or congenital deformities. The surgical environment, for anyone who's been in surgery, is a very busy place. So there's a lot of opportunity to improve this by simplifying this, by simplifying what the surgical team has to undertake their complex procedure. So you can see there's a lot of tools hanging around, there's a lot of trays, are all required to undertake a procedure, and in the foreground of this image is a medical model. So we used to make many thousands of medical models a year to help surgeons plan, rehearse, handle and understand the anatomy in the surgical environment. And these were all produced using stereolithography back then. But it's not the most clever way of doing things, and times have moved on. We're now moving towards printing the actual final solutions rather than just a simple replica of the anatomy. And one of the reasons we do this is because the conventional production process of custom implants and custom medical devices is laborious. It's open to a lot of interpretation. It requires a lot of handmade skill, and it can introduce a lot of errors and contamination into the process. So the series of images here indicate a use of a semi-digital approach where we've used the software to create a 3D replica in the computer environment, and then built an anatomical model, and then moving on to using waxes and clays to produce a pressed sheet titanium implant. So there's a lot of artisan skill in this process, and it results in something still with a high degree of design constraint. You can only produce a flat plate. And with all the materials used, it's quite a dirty process that has to obviously then result in a clean implant. So there are a lot of inherent limitations in time and in skill in the existing processes, or the traditional processes. So our goal was to digitize this. So we used the freeform software, and we used the very first type of metal additive manufacturing machines to produce very discrete, very small surgical guides and devices that were designed specifically for an individual patient. And this was back in about 2005. So these technologies were very early in their use for surgical applications, and the legislation and the regulations around it were not as they are today. But we did everything. We planned everything with the surgical teams and the surgical and prosthetic design teams who were required to understand the important bits of anatomy to avoid, where to put the implants into solid bone, and it gave much more predictable results that we could actually quantify by comparing the post-operative CT scans with the pre-operative CT scans and the computer-aided design plan. So everything suddenly became much easier to quantify the outcome and much easier to predict and create the right result according to a plan. So this was quite revolutionary at the time, and as I say, at the time of writing, at the time that this was undertaken rather, there was no software company doing this. Now this has grown into a global field, and there are numerous service vendors for making surgical guides. So this is some of the examples. I'm not sure how familiar people are with surgery, but there are a few surgical images in the next few slides. So this is a 3D printed metal surgical guide for a 𝗧-1 osteotomy, which intends to cut the bone along just beneath the nose in the maxillary bone, and then osteotomize, so move the bone forwards into a new position. So in this case, we designed the surgical guide, additive manufactured in stainless steel, and the surgeon, you can see there, placed it during surgery and cut along the shelf that was pre-identified to make sure that the bone was moved into its new position into exactly the right place. So some of the other examples that have only really been possible in the last 8 or so years has been the direct design and additive manufacture of custom implants. So these are long-term devices, not transient use devices. They need to be properly sterilised. They must be handled in exactly the right way according to the regulatory requirements. So on the left-hand side, we have a very thin wall section orbital floor implant. And the benefits of using additive manufacturing metal materials is you can create selective areas where the material is slightly thicker, which is very important, for example, to make sure screws are properly embedded in the implant, and they can't be felt under the very thin structures which are underneath the orbital rim there, because it's very thin tissue. On the right-hand side, we have a cranioplasty plate, which has been positioned and placed according to a plan and a predefined surgical guide that's allowed the surgeon to cut around the exact margin of the tumour, remove the tumour and place the plate in one surgical procedure. This is great for procedures that would otherwise require two surgeries rather. So we can save time, we can save money, and we can make a much more predictable outcome by placing the implant exactly where it's needed. And the complexity can increase a lot. So with the freedoms we have of using additive manufacturing in metal or 3D printing in metal, we can create extremely complicated shapes that interlock, and they allow much more feel that the surgeon is getting it into the right place and ensuring that it's not mispositioned. We can also undertake procedures such as orthopedic procedures where there's been massive bone loss and where previous stock implants have failed. So on the right hand side is something called a 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 cup, and this is used where other implants have failed, where the bone loss has been so great that the implant must extend with large wings into the surrounding pelvic anatomy. So this becomes a lot more possible, a lot more feasible to undertake when you have the freedom of additive manufacturing in metal materials, and you can design these kinds of complex forms in software such as Freeform. And we've also explored how metal materials can be used to add functional surfaces such as lattice structures on parts of implants, which encourages the bone to integrate with the implant, providing extra stability. So this is a hemifemoral implant designed as a knee salvage. So this young person had undergone traumatic experience. They had damaged their knee, and they would have had a full knee implant replacement, which at a young age would not have lasted them very long. So he designed an implant that was just simply one side of the femur, the end of the femur. And this was part of the joint surface, so it had to be highly polished on the outside, but the inside had a rough surface designed to create stability. The holes there were also ensured they were guided into exactly the right position using exactly the pre-planned screws. So this saved surgery for the patients. They only needed one simple procedure and an implant that would last them many, many years before they would need potentially a whole new knee replacement. So it gives you the possibility to do this kind of thing. So next, again, I'm going to touch on why we do this, and there's a very moving story from one of the patients who had a complex reconstruction following serious trauma in another country. So I hope you can all hear the video, but please say if you can't, and we'll see if we can do something about that.
I was in Cambodia in a village called 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧, and I was there because I was working as head of IT and research at a university. And that evening I'd gone out with some friends for some food, and I had to leave a little bit earlier than everyone else, and the rest I had no idea.
Gareth had been involved in a motorcycle crash with 2 other bikes. He was the only survivor. He was flown home, where he became the patient of Dr. Shakir Mustafa. He used pioneering technology to remove old metal plates and replace them with new, bespoke ones.
All the parts that are used for Gareth's operation have been printed using 3D printing technology.
But the operation is effectively done on a computer first. This shortens surgery time and healing time too, because it reduces possible errors.
You could make a film out of this and it would be a bestseller, yet I've actually been through this. It's nuts. It really, I'm looking at the skull, this sort of, particularly the clear one. I mean, it looks like something out of the Terminator. It really does. Yes, I feel very privileged.
So I think it's always worth coming back to why we do this and understanding when you hear a patient who's undergone these horrible traumatic incidents, and you can understand why you're using these devices and why you're designing them. I think it's a really important thing to do. So this is Gareth's procedure from the top left down to the bottom right. So in this case, we combine the design of surgical guides, which were designed to move a portion of the temporal bone, the zygomatic bone, and the maxillary bone forwards into a new position. So during his accident, the bones had all been pushed backwards into the wrong place. So the guides allowed the surgeon to make the cuts in the correct location, and then the guide on the top right was used to then pull them into the new location. And you can see it has contours in it, which actually correspond to the place for the final implants, the long-term implants. So the first two sets of guides were transient use devices, only used for a short period, and then the long-term guides were used, obviously, to provide the final fixation. So in the bottom left, you can see the long-term implants in the right position, with the guides, the temporary guides, the transient guides still in place. And the bottom right is the final solution with the multiple parts final implants, all custom contoured to make sure the bones are fixed in the new position, and the orbital floors are reconstructed as well. So for those that don't know, if you're impacted in the midface, particularly in the eyes, what tends to happen is the orbital floor, so the very thin bones beneath your eye, pop down like a trapdoor or completely break, saving the eye but causing problems with sight. So it's very important to put the eye back into the right place. So that was his surgery undertaken in a digital environment. And we're now blessed with the use of 3D metal printing or additive manufacturing in titanium alloys, which is what the implants were made of. So all of these implants were, of course, designed and manufactured in the correct regulatory environments with the correct sterilization instructions and all of the details required for the surgical team to be confident that it was going to be safe in the long term. And this is what it looks like. I perhaps should have given a warning there for the surgical video. But this is what it looks like. We are not just designing as engineers in the ideal computer-aided environment. There are many other considerations, such as soft tissue envelope we have to consider. We're not just designing on bone. The surgeon still has to navigate all of the soft tissue and the intricate structures, particularly in the facial anatomy. And this is something you really should understand if you're designing these kinds of devices. You must understand that there are constraints in the way the surgeons can operate. And in this case, this isn't the case before. This is a very similar traumatic case where surgical guides and long-term implants were used in conjunction. In this case, they had to peel back, they had to make multiple incisions, peel back the skin, go through this kind of area, so around the temporal area, but they also went in intraorally through the roof of the mouth. So there were multiple surgical approaches, and all of those implants we had to consider had to fit within those surgical incision sites. So if you're going to be involved in this field, always see the surgical procedures, always understand and work with the surgeons to figure out what the constraints are, how big your devices need to be, how they must fit together. The ergonomics are very, very important. So moving on from surgical implants, as I say, these have become very popular now, quite routine. There are a lot of companies doing it. Into the use of these technologies for producing high fidelity training models. So in exactly the same way as making a replica of anatomy for surgical purposes, we can use the same technologies to move from a CT scan or magnetic resonance image scan through to virtual environment, virtual model of anatomy, into physical models. So we've worked with the defence services in the UK and trauma orthopaedic surgeons in the UK to come up with highly realistic, high fidelity training models that can be used for battlefield simulations. So it's very important that battlefield medics or army medics can get to a casualty and preserve their life as quickly as possible. And there's not often a scenario to train on this. You obviously can't do it on patients very often, or you hope you don't have to do it very often on patients. So to create realistic training models made using synthetic materials such as silicones, polyurethanes, and indeed directly 3D printed is a good way to create something that the surgeons can practice on, the medic surgeons can practice on. So in this case we used different silicone materials to create skin anatomy, to create the muscle tissues. So we created all the fibrous tissues in there, and the bones, and mould them all around, and indeed also the fatty tissues as well. So here you can see some of the sort of nearly final results. So we included every anatomical detail, which is actually quite important to create that illusion of reality that gives these models the lifelike experience for the surgeons. And it did indeed replace the need for kind of animal models and for other such low fidelity models. And you could make these models bleed as well. You could make it as realistic as you like, and reusable, of course, as well. So it's important that we don't have to keep replacing these very expensive large models all of the time. There are components that can be easily replaced. So these have been used extensively by the UK military services and included in conflict training for Ukrainian soldiers as well. So these are being used in those situations currently. So it's not necessarily about making the final model for the surgical teams to use, it's about making the training models. And building on from this use of kind of silicone materials and things that mimic soft tissue, facial prosthetics is a field I'm extremely passionate about, and I did my PhD in as well. So this is a real blend of arts and science and materials knowledge to make very highly realistic parts of the face for people who've had surgery to remove tumours, for example, typical cancer, and restore their aesthetic looks and in some case function. And again, I have another video here that describes why we do this from a colleague called Peter Evans at Morriston Hospital in Swansea.
My name is Peter Evans. I head up the maxillofacial laboratory here at Morriston Hospital in Swansea. I lead a team of maxillofacial prosthetists, reconstructive scientists, dental technicians who are dedicated to the rehabilitation of patients with both head and neck and body defects. We make a range of medical devices here at the laboratory, including body prosthetics, facial prosthetics, and dental devices. Historically, our profession has blended art with science. We have to be able to create a whole range of skin tones accurately to match the patients, and also the ability to hand carve and create natural forms that will blend in with the patient's anatomy. 3D digital design and production methods allow us to work much more accurately and efficiently and overall improve the patient experience. And we've worked with digital design engineers since 1998 to develop those skills, particularly in the areas of computer-aided design, 3D scanning and 3D printing. And these methods and techniques have become part of our everyday clinical service. They require the refinement of new skills that complement our knowledge of surgical procedures and anatomy.
And what Peter was saying there is, again, something we very much advocate. If you're going to get involved in this field, you need to understand all these types of intricacies and the challenges involved. It's never a case that digital technology can simply replicate the current artisanal approaches, it must complement it. It must be sympathetic to what the patients need and what the teams making complex devices such as maxillofacial prostheses need. As you can see by the videos here, it is a very time-consuming process, a very big one. But there's also a lot of science behind it and a lot of chair-side time that the patient must be sat waiting for their prosthesis to be delivered. But it's a very important one. So technology has an extremely important role to make the process more efficient and better for both the prosthetic team and for the patients. So we've undertaken previous projects developing the use of digital technologies. So when I started, all of the technologies were very engineering. They weren't very portable. Some of the early three-dimensional scanners to get parts into the computer-aided design environment were way too bulky. They could not be moved into clinical environments. Now we're able to use 3D scanners attached to iPads, so fairly affordable, and it allows you to get sufficient resolution with a few limitations into the computer-aided design environment. So the case on screen here, we actually undertook in collaboration with a partner in India, in Lucknow, in King George's Medical University, to trial the technology there. And once in the digital environment, there are tools, there is software like Freeform where you can carve the anatomy, you can create skin textures, you can create the realistic details that are required to make a prosthesis look realistic. So in this case, you can pattern using patterns created in Photoshop, for example, or other sorts of software to emboss skin textures. And you can do this in a way that's very controlled. You can undo a mistake very easily without the patient needing to be sat chair-side waiting for their prosthesis. But there are lots of limitations with this. The fidelity of the scan is very difficult to capture the abutments. So in this case, you can see magnets around on this person's nose. It's very difficult to capture the details of the mechanisms that hold the prosthesis to the face and also capture all the surrounding and insufficient detail. So there are still lots of limitations with the way that digital environments can be used to create realistic facial prostheses. And there's also a lot of cost constraints as well. So silicone materials are extremely expensive, and it's very difficult to obtain them in locations such as India at the moment, sadly. But we are working towards this idea that digital technologies can make realistic facial prostheses a much more realistic proposition for more people. If it can reduce the travel time needed, if it can reduce the time people need to sit chair-side, it means that more people can access the facial prostheses they need for reconstruction. So this is our goal, is to make sure that technology becomes democratized. It enables more people to access the best quality services and have the reconstruction that's so desperately required. I very much welcome collaboration on this with partners in India. So we've talked about the surgical and prosthetic, the very medical disciplines that we work on for, that we use digital technologies and engineering technologies for. But these technologies have also a very important role, so particularly design technologies have an important role to manage chronic conditions, because there are a growing number of people who are older living with multiple chronic conditions where technology can help provide an answer. So, chronic disease accounts for something like 75% of all deaths around the world. And in England, chronic conditions constitute around 70% of healthcare costs. And I think this is kind of indicative of what's happening in the world. And a third of people are estimated to be living with multiple chronic conditions as well. So we must learn to live with these conditions more effectively. So the design process, I'm a product designer by background, but I must understand the design process as a whole. So it's kind of seen as this squiggly line. You start with a general idea in your pre-design, you go through a lot of iterations, it's a very messy process at the start in this generative phase. You move on to the evaluation phase and post-design where things become a lot clearer. So a colleague of mine, Dr. 𝗪𝗓𝗄𝗧, who's worked on the use of design methods to work with people throughout this design process, to engage people at the very early stages who have experience of their lived condition, which in this case was lymphedema, to understand how it impacts their lives and what solutions may help them, what design solutions may help them throughout their journey to ensure that they can manage their chronic condition effectively in the long term. And it's important to keep them out of hospital. It reduces clinical care. So design also has an important role here. And this is a great example of how working with a lead user, someone who has lived experience of an injury or a condition, can help create a solution that benefits themselves as well as many other people in a similar situation. And how
All the old school mojo suspension stickers. As you of course, like my first ever bit of graphic design, I guess, back in school, when I cut out my own initials on the vinyl machine. But yeah, some good memories racing in that. All the things I use for like my graphic design, my day job, I can just use my one hand. I'm not restricted. If I'm out in the garage fabricating stuff, it can get quite tricky at times with just the one hand. I don't have any of those restrictions when I'm in the software. I'm in a 3D world. I can make the most complex shapes, and then I can print them. Made use of technology the best I could, and yeah, there are still things which are really difficult to do, but like I approach my riding, there's usually a way to make it work for me. I literally got my mum to stitch some Velcro to this glove, and I put Velcro straight to the metal handlebar and just strapped my hand to it. Which is a really bad idea, and when I got to the bottom of the hill, there was a lot of blood. I get a lot of satisfaction from overcoming these problems, and I guess maybe that's something which has really helped me as I've learned to enjoy the process almost as much as the end result, and I think that's a big part of where I'm at now, actually.
have a tray system which your arm can actually clip onto. support the whole arm, and it provides that bilateral control that's essential if you're tearing down a hill on a mountain bike quickly. So we have a lot of people involved in this who are using these products at the moment, and 3D printing is being used extensively in each of the components as well. So these, we typically use the 𝗳𝗙 fusion process because it produces really tough nylon parts, or PA12 parts, that are very resilient, combined with carbon fibre and CNC machined parts as well, where they need to be strong and durable. So 3D printing has been a game changer for small companies like this, making very complex parts that need a high degree of design freedom to fit somebody's anatomy. So very briefly, I'm going to touch on the regulations and as the final part of this presentation. And this is an increasingly important part of the medical device sector. Regulations globally are changing, and they require you to follow stringent quality management systems. So you may be familiar with ISO 13485, which now is recognized globally who are designing and making medical devices, whether they're custom or whether they're serial production. So in hospitals, this is really shaken out, should have a quality management system that allows them to comply with the new regulatory changes in the UK, EU, and indeed globally as well. So this 13485 quality management system applies to all stages of a medical device's life cycle, and it applies to any organisation, whether you're very, very small or very, very large. And this has had a huge impact. And it's all really about risk management, which is a living, breathing thing. So you must undertake a risk management plan to understand all of the risks associated with the device, and to take evaluation, or analysis rather, evaluation, control those risks before you analysing what's happened, and you'll need to continually improve. And this is not really recognised among many researchers at the moment as an important area, but I do stress that you should be following a quality management system, and you must ensure you're complying with regulations. So some conclusions. In my opinion, we simply cannot replicate old technologies and old methods with new technologies. We must have a total system redesign to make sure we are leveraging It's no good just having them, they must be trained. So we have the Surgical and Prosthetic Design Academy, www.spd-academy.com, where we offer training to surgeons and to medical professionals working in this field. And that's a really important thing. We've made accredited courses for this. And as I touched upon last, the regulatory requirements must be addressed. You cannot ignore them. If you're working in this field, you must address regulatory requirements. And finally, I'll leave you with an image, and this presentation is very much in loving memory of Professor 𝗵𝗻𝗔𝗓, who we worked with in collaboration with in the UK-India Educational Research Initiative project a few years ago, who sadly passed away. So it's in loving memory of a team approach that she very much advocated. So I thank her and her team who live on to serve the patients of King George's Medical University. So with that, I thank you very much and hope you found this an interesting, useful presentation. I'm of course very happy to take any questions as well.
Open for queries.
My name is 𝗂𝗽𝗍, and my question is, what are some of the latest advancements in design and manufacturing technologies used in healthcare for creating custom medical devices?
So, were you asking what kind of bad here? I'm afraid I've lost a lot of echo. Was it most of the most of that? So we use a combination of metal additive manufacturing, usually in titanium alloys for the implants. There are some really exciting technologies from 3D Systems now, who just bought out a company called 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁, who do additive manufacturing in PEEK materials, so PEEK polymers, which has some really interesting qualities because it doesn't scatter X-rays and it doesn't interfere with radiotherapy, which is typical if you've had a tumour. So there's some really exciting possibilities in that. For the orthotics and wearable devices, we really like the HP multi-jet fusion because it builds in a PA12 material, which is really tough, really resilient, takes a lot of impact, and you don't need the support structures that you would with some of the extrusion-based processes in polymers as well. So it gives you great design freedom and surgical guides. I still think 𝗧-𝗦𝗔𝗧 is the best technology because you can produce it in very high temperature resins that can be autoclave sterilized, and you can produce in clear resins that allow you to see the anatomy where the guides are being placed. So there is, sadly, it's not one additive manufacturing technology, it's the best. There's just a whole suite that you can consider for different applications. I hope that answers your question. It was a bit hard to hear it with the echo going on.
Thank you, sir.
So one more question here.
Sir, my question is, can AI and ML be used to design a personalized healthcare equipment?
This is a very good question. It's a very hard one for me to answer because I am not an expert in AI, but I think we can all recognize that it will revolutionize things. We worked on a project about 5 years ago to not develop AI, but a way of automating design. So you could take a computer tomography scan and it would automatically fill all the holes in the head, so for a cranioplasty plate, and create an implant. You still needed to click through a process, but it did it all automatically. And I do think that AI technology will be able to do this, and probably within 5-10 years. This is just an estimate, but I think we can see that it does have an important role to play, and it is likely to automate a lot of what we have to spend many hours doing at the moment. So I hope I don't have to do my job in some respects, because I think a computer could do it better.
To further explore and develop innovative solutions for patients' care will definitely imbibe your teaching, sir. No boundary matters when a mind is liberating. No obstacle is hindering when a heart is firmly standing. To share knowledge is the biggest quality of a distinguished being. We honestly applaud the great efforts you have put in to guide us all the way from the UK. Thank you for taking out your valuable time and addressing us. It was an honor to hear from you at Osmania University. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting us. No boundaries when a mind is liberating. No obstacle is hindering when a heart is firmly standing. To share knowledge is the biggest quality of a distinguished being. We honestly applaud the great efforts you have to guide us all the way from UK. Thank you for taking out your valuable time and addressing us. Osmania University. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed for the invitation. I hope you found it interesting.
Now, a 3-day journey of educating with the best comes to an end. Friends, what a conference filled with knowledge gathering, experience sharing, rekindling of minds, and guidance from prominent personalities. Let's add this knowledge in embarking on our own experiences. We thank the distinguished guests, organizers, volunteers, sponsors, partners, and everyone who has made this event a grand and ever memorable one. Looking forward to meeting you all again in the next session, which is Global Alumni Meet. Thank you.
𝗂𝗽𝗱 อุస్మానియా ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ అభివృద్ధి చూపెను బ్రతుకును మార్చెను ప్రగతికి మూలమిదే ఓయూ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ చరిత్రలో నిలిచిన కాలేజ్ రాజకీయం ఐటీ రంగం లలిత కళలై తెరిసెనుగా సివిల్ సర్వీస్ క్రీడా రంగం పబ్లిక్ సెక్టార్లో వెలిగెనుగా మేధావుల కన్న తల్లి ఓయూ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ బంగారు భవితకు బాటలు వేసిన ఇంజనీర్స్ కాలేజ్ ఓయూ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ చరిత్రలో నిలిచిన కాలేజ్ రాజకీయం ఐటీ రంగం లలిత కళలై తెరిసెనుగా సివిల్ సర్వీస్ క్రీడా రంగం పబ్లిక్ సెక్టార్లో వెలిగెనుగా ఆచార్యులను కన్నది నాసాలోన వెలిగిన సైంటిస్టుల మేలిది పద్మశ్రీలను పూసిన సంఘం డిఫెన్సులోన చల్లెను జ్ఞానం బయోమెడికల్ కంప్యూటర్ సైన్స్ మైనింగ్ శాఖల్లోన మేధావుల కన్న తల్లి ఓయూ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ బంగారు భవితకు బాటలు వేసిన ఇంజనీర్స్ కాలేజ్ ఘన చరితల కళాశాల గత వైభవ జ్ఞానశాల గగనతలములో ప్రతిభ జ్వాల నింగికెగిసెను మిస్సెల్లాగా మా అందరి కన్న తల్లి ఉస్మానియా విజ్ఞానం పంచిన జాబిలి ఉస్మానియా ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ అభివృద్ధి చూపెను బ్రతుకును మార్చెను ప్రగతికి మూలమిదే ఓయూ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ చరిత్రలో నిలిచిన కాలేజ్ రాజకీయం ఐటీ రంగం లలిత కళలై తెరిసెనుగా సివిల్ సర్వీస్ క్రీడా రంగం పబ్లిక్ సెక్టార్లో వెలిగెనుగా మెకానికల్ ఇంజనీర్స్ విరిసిన పచ్చని చెట్టిది ఎలక్ట్రికల్ ఇంజనీర్స్ వెలిగిన కాంతుల చిరుగిది మేనేజ్మెంట్ లో ప్రతిభను చాటి ఉన్నత పదవున చేరిన కాలేజ్ పబ్లిక్ సెక్టార్ సివిల్ ఇంజనీర్స్ ఎలక్ట్రానిక్స్ లోనా మేధావుల కన్న తల్లి ఓయూ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజ్ బంగారు భవితకు బాటలు ఘన చరితల కళాశాల గత వైభవ జ్ఞానశాల గగనతలములో ప్రతిభ జ్వాల నింగికెగిసెను మిస్సెల్లాగా మా అందరి కన్న తల్లి ఉస్మానియా
Staying together is progress, and working together is success. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the Global Alumni Meet GAM 2023, organized by Alumni Association, University College of Engineering, Osmania University, a place where people connect to reconnect. Can we have a huge round of applause for the fantastic spirit we are in today? I am 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 from BE-CAC third year, UCOU, with my co-host.
This is Sania Mehreen from Biomedical Engineering, second year, UCOU. The word alumni reminds us of a university's illustrious past. Osmania University's alumni have achieved distinction at national and international levels for more than a century by outperforming themselves as academicians, administrators, scientists, scholars, etc. Many of them have excelled to the peaks of their field and are now making contributions to the socio-economic progress of the society, country, and the entire world.
The Global Alumni Meet 2023 is organized with an objective to bring home the illustrious alumni of the university to reconnect with their alma mater. The motivating idea behind the GAM 2023 motto, Connect to Reconnect, is to rekindle ties between alumni and our alma mater in order to explore possibilities to engage, contribute, and grow. We hope that collectively, the alumni and the university administration can strengthen the vision and immortalize the legacy of our university in the years to come. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and immense pleasure to welcome our esteemed chief guest onto the dais.
Please welcome our first chief guest, Professor D. Ravinder, Vice Chancellor, Osmania University, on the dais. I now request Dr. D. Vijay Sir, President, Alumni Association, UCOU, to please accompany the chief guest onto the dais.
Welcome,
please
sir.
give them a huge round of applause.
Welcome, sir. Now, I kindly request our chief guest, Engineer A. Gopal Rao, sir, Chairman and Managing Director, Northern Power Distribution Company of Telangana Limited, onto the dais. I humbly request Professor Sriram Venkatesh, sir, Principal UCOU, to accompany the chief guest onto the dais. I kindly request to give a huge round of applause, please. Now I request NVK Srinivas, sir, Director SECL, to please come onto the dais. I request MS Venkatramaya, sir, General Secretary, Alumni Association, to accompany sir onto the dais.
It is rightly said that the darkness of ignorance can only be swept away by the light of education. The lighting of lamp is a traditional ritual in India as it signifies the triumph of knowledge over ignorance and hope over despair. Today, as we light this lamp, it represents the positive change and enlightenment that we can bring into the world with education, wisdom, and knowledge. I would like to invite all the dignitaries on the dais to come forward for the lamp lighting ceremony. Please give them a huge round of applause.
Moving on, I would now like to invite Veena from EEE third year and Shishira from EC third year for an invocation song. Please welcome them with a huge round of applause, please.
King
वाग्भूषणानि सततम् वाग्भूषणं भूषणम्. Thank you.
That was definitely a spiritual and divine start to the event. As we go through life, we encounter people who inspire us and leave a lasting impact on our lives. Some of the alumni who attended GAM 2022 are no longer with us today, but their memory and legacy continue to inspire and guide us.
So let us take a moment to remember and honor the departed souls and relive the legacy that they have left behind. We hope that their memory inspires us to live our lives with purpose, determination, and gratitude. I would like to request Engineer 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Sir, Vice President, Alumni Association, to come onto the dais and pay homage to the departed souls.
Person that departs from earth never truly lives, for they are still alive in our hearts and minds. Though as they live on today, let's remember each of the departed souls and let pay our tributes and homage to all our friends who have left this world of ours to be in better place. May their soul attain Sadgiti and rest in peace. Request you all to stand up, remain in silence for a minute to honor the souls.
Moving on, the art of communication is the language of leadership. I repeat, the art of communication is the language of leadership. The leader presiding the Alumni Association, Dr. 𝗳𝗏𝗪𝗀 is amongst us today. I would now like to request Dr. 𝗳𝗏𝗪𝗀 to address the gathering. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Good morning to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Ravindra Garu, then the guest of honor, Sri Srinivas Garu from Singareni Collieries, Director Operations, and our Chief Patron, Professor Sriram Venkatesh Garu, and my secretary, my executive members, all alums who are here, learned faculty, and my dear children, a warm welcome to each one of you. First and foremost thing, I think the Global Alumni Meet normally is supposed to be in this, fixed on December 3rd Sunday. A few years ago, in 2018, in the general body meeting, we had passed a resolution saying that we cannot or we should not spend money just to splurge on these events. But every penny that the Alumni Association raises or earns should go for the welfare of the institution. So that's the time in 2019 we came out with Icete International Conference. And during 2019 GAM, we had this symposium, international symposium, okay, where every penny that we spend goes back to the alma mater, okay. Now, unfortunately, the process for Icete 2022 started March of 2022, but for reasons, very peculiar, that our publishing partner, Springer Nature, took its own time. There were a lot of queries raised, and this event actually was scheduled on December 18 along with Icete 2022. That was on 16th, 17th and 18th. But we got the permissions from our publisher in December first week, and they put a stipulation saying that minimum 120 days or 90 to 120 days you need to have from the day you are going to announce us as publishing partner till the time you do your conference. I think that's the reason I think the whole thing got derailed, and we're having the GAM today. Unfortunately, coupled to it is today we are having the two major events happening. One is our college is conducting an exam, so all our faculty, etc., are observers. Second is we're having the secretariat, okay, inauguration. So all our fraternity of engineers, all of them are there, okay. So I think this is what it is. So I think, but still we said we'll go ahead because the dates were announced and we'll move forward. I welcome each one of you. I'll share a few things that happenings over here in flat 5 minutes. I'll not take much time because I'm sure each one of us is also on the dais has to go for the secretariat inauguration. In the meantime, I welcome our patron, Professor Ramchandram Garu, who just joined in, to please join us on the stage. And I also welcome our registrar who also stepped in. Thank you for being here today, Professor Lakshman Garu, with us and giving us solidarity. Now let's move fast. Most important and critical, which we have been talking about and working pretty hard, was get the ATG from the Income Tax Department. Congratulations to each one of you over here. Finally, we have got our ATG and we are open for donations, and each one of us who's going to donate would get tax exemptions. Okay. If you can recall, every board, every GPM, we've been taking resolutions to take this forward from 2018 onwards, but the had ATG in 2005, it lapsed. So they said, unless and until you show that you are doing something to the institutions at large, to your institution, we will not. So we performed, showed that, okay, every amount that comes in here is actually going for the benefit of the institution, and finally we got our ATG. We are in the process of also applying the FCRA. I think that also should be in place in a month or two. As all of us know, we conduct alumni talks, and this year we had about 6 alumni talks. We had alumni start. Then we had Ramana Garu over here, then Veena Garu, then we had Venkatesh Mantana, Praveen Kompella, and 𝗬𝗪 Garu. They have visited our college and interacted with our student fraternity over here, and we have done the due justices in terms of honoring them too. Then, as usual, we are having reunions, and we had a 1993-97 batch celebrating their Silver Jubilee reunion over here. The most happening thing that has actually happened, okay, in the institution of our college, University College of Engineering, is re-establishment of the mining department. And with the re-establishment of the mining department, we also have all our veteran and senior and super seniors, okay, from the mining fraternity coming together and making things happen. And first and foremost thing, I would like to put on record that when we start, first 20 lakhs to just, the check came from the mining fraternity, okay, to take it forward. I think the next was how do we take it forward. So there were 2 chairs installed, okay, one by Coal India and another by 𝗬𝗏𝗧, and each of these companies are contributing 3 crores each for this professor chair for mining. The other thing that got facilitated by our alumni association and the mining fraternity working together is establishment of classroom complex at EC department. Complete amount that is going to go in over there in terms of state of art, okay, is being funded by 2 crores is already sanctioned, okay, and part of it already disbursed and work has commenced. And they also told very clear, and this was done by our alum, who is the CMD of 𝗬𝗏𝗧, Shri N.𝗧𝗧 Garu, who has done it at his personal capacity, and the mining fraternity, being behind and getting things done over there. In fact, the classroom complex, the instructions are very clear. They have to be world class, and any prof from anywhere on the globe can have an interactive session in these classrooms. And it should be a role model not just for Engineering College, Osmania or Telangana, but should be one of the best. And he has given instructions to the contractors who are working there to interact with him directly. He has advised them to go to IIT, ISB, etc. and other institutions, have a look at them and get the classrooms done. So we thank 𝗬𝗏𝗧 as well as Shri N.𝗧𝗧 Garu, who is our own alum, for being so benevolent, and the mining fraternity for making things happen for the mining department. Now coming to the next big thing that has happened on Osmania is bringing all Osmania under one single umbrella. The brainchild of, Professor Ravindra Garu. The ideas were sown by Professor Ramchandram Garu. I'm very clear, I know of the fact that at that point of time, trust kind of a thing, but I think the vision was made to happen, by Ravindra Garu. Osmania Foundation is formed with a clear vision of bringing all alums across Osmania University, okay, under the fraternity of our brand Osmania. And the vision is very clearly drawn. A Section 8 company has been opened, and even this organization has got ATG in place. Okay. Now, I want to communicate one thing over here. Osmania, lot of, when we talk alums or, we are not different. Okay. And nobody is a threat. For example, like how we are there, the department associations think that, okay, Alumni Association, University College of Engineering is different. No. We are all together. Each one of us is an umbrella kind of a thing. as Alumni Association, University College of Engineering works for the benefit of every department and departmental needs when it is brought to the Alumni Association's notice. Same is the case, Osmania Foundation is going to work all the alumni associations across Osmania under the 700 colleges. The objective is also to connect each one of them to the respective colleges. And the thing, Osmania was launched with a global alumni meet on January 3rd and 4th we had, wherein we had eminent alums coming from across the globe, and it was a grand success. And there were so many eminent alums under Osmania who have graduated. We can't accommodate all of them. So we had 4 panel discussions over there, was conceptualized by the Vice Chancellor and all of us. And then you'll find that like how a rainbow is, you'll find all the 7 colors in all these 4 panel discussions. The first panel discussion was a mix of art, culture, civil services, and private sector. The second one was a mix of international entrepreneurs from different departments, okay, and the third one was again entrepreneurs from different departments, and the fourth one was a big bang. The fourth panel discussion was, this was one of the only single podium or a stage where all Vice Chancellors of Telangana were all there on the dais. All Vice Chancellors. And this got culminated with signing of MOUs from alumni fraternity, wherein the engineering college, our alums played a very key role. In fact, 2 of our alums, Sai and Veena Garu from US, they have signed 2 MOUs with Osmania University. And one of it is to establish an AA lab in engineering college at ECE department. The second one is transformers, where they are going to do ideation and execute the same in terms of collecting the ideas from all the 700 odd engineering colleges, and we have given them free space in our TBI for them to execute this. The second one was our own alum from 86 batch, MSR, Mankali 𝗬𝗏𝗏 Garu, who's the CEO of 𝗘𝗍𝗿. We have signed up with 𝗘𝗍𝗿 to harness incubation in Osmania University. Then, so I think first we'll start with the felicitation of Gopal Rao sir. Okay, 1 second.
Moving on to the next speaker of the event. Great leaders do not desire to lead, but to serve. Serve the mankind with the ultimate purpose of existence. One such distinguished personality is our chief guest of the day, Engineer A. Gopal Rao sir. He is the Chairman and Managing Director CMD, Northern Power Distribution Company of Telangana Limited. Brings to the table over 37 years of experience
program. I also wish my greetings to the dignitaries on the dais, Sri Ravinder Vice Chancellor Garu, ex-Vice Chancellor Garu, Vijay Kumar, Srinivas, and Venkatana sir. So, coming to the actual program, I'm CMD of NPDCL. This institution has established a very, very long back by the Nizam, and it is my pleasure to be part of this alma matter and establish connection with the current faculty and students to explore possibility of to engage, contribute and grow. This is one of the object of this alumni. So that is to be carried out for the development of the any institution or development of the organization or development of the science and technologies. The whatever changes that are taking place in the universe has to be communicated to one and all, especially the student community who are very eagerly waiting for their future careers. They must be trained in such a way that they should make researches or they must involve themselves into the subjects in a thorough way and see that the benefits reaped out of their education, out of their knowledge. That should be helpful to the mankind. That should be the motto of each and everybody of an engineering community, technology community, or whatever community, whichever this faculty they are just going through. Every faculty is helpful for the mankind. No faculty is left where it is not useful. So this is how this organization has been built up under the, of course, this is Professor Ravinder Garan gurinchi kuda cheppalante alumni chala various countries kuda he has toured and he got so many funds and he has met so many, as already Mr. already, but the word I am still using, for rekindling the ties between alumni and alma maters to bring about much needed cohesion and affectionate interaction, which would definitely reap unforeseen benefit to all stakeholders. The aim is fulfilled if it is really function in a systematic and dedicated and committed way. That is what we are seeing from Professor Ravindra, Vice Chancellor of the University, assisted by Mr. Vijay Kumar and ex-Vice Chancellor and the present General Secretary of the Alumna. Similarly, alumna of Osmania University have distinguished themselves the need of the hour. We should not forget from which place we have come to such an important place. Though it may be a knowledge acquired by you on independently or depending, but the foundation is laid in the institution Osmania Engineering College. That we should not forget. As already our Vijay Kumar told, MOUs have been taken into consideration. There is a MOU understanding because of the Osmania alumni graduates, and most of the Singareni colleges, though Sridhar maybe has come up with Osmania, I don't know, but this is the Singareni colleges or Coal India really helped in building up this organization. I thank the Sridhar Garu or Coal India or anybody who has liberally contributed the amounts for the sake of this foundation. So similarly, all other institutions, PGCL, what I heard from Vijay Kumar, PGCL is also contributing liberally to some development of labs or in electrical engineering. This is what is required, and this is what the alumni is doing. Really, but similarly, the persons in the India or in the state should also make help to develop this organization. But it should be our endeavor, it should be our motto for building up of such organization. Finally, it should help to the community. See, this is what should be to make benefits reach to the common public. That is what is exactly required. So this is what alumni we require, I think. Similarly, several professionals have reached heights and excellence in their respective fields and are significantly contributing to the socio-economic development of the nation and world at large. It is an opportunity to participate in alumni for deliberating on various aspects related to academics, research and development, and to explore myriad possibilities to contribute to their respective departments. Or supporting the various development of our state. It is a well-known fact that the transformational turnaround of Telangana power sector has been a great success story and has become a case study for the entire nation. See, after going through all the basics of the meeting, I just want to give you some brief on the organization in which I am working. See, all of you know Telangana was under darkness prior to formation of this Telangana. So even the governor, assembly, everywhere, it has been remarked like any already marked. It is not only a remark of anybody. It is almost a case study to be being followed by many of the institutions. See, wherever they are wondering how you people could be able to get a darkness into brightness with so much backwardness. This is what is going to happen. Even the HICC is also making a study for this. So this is the state being developed by our Honorable Chief Minister. He himself has taken up the electricity as one of the priority subject to develop the state, which was reeling under the not only darkness, even the industries was just moving out of this Telangana state, making the people to suffer of unemployment, etc., etc. So, as a result, Chief Minister, our Honorable Chief Minister has taken up the electricity on a top priority and invested about 39,000 crores to develop the infrastructure on transmission and distribution net. Besides this, he has also made to invest 30,000 crores to develop the generation. It is our generation company as a lead of establishing and commissioning of 800 kVA supercritical station before 3 months than the scheduled time. See, that is the credit our GENCO has. See, even SLDC, the SLDC is managing the entire grid in a super manner, so that there is no interruptions even during the unscheduled meeting of the demand. It goes down like anything, it comes up like anything. But still, they were able to manage. The SLDC has developed in such a way. Similarly, our trading business is also, see, this engineering, electrical, especially engineering, the field of engineering in utilities has become not only a technical subject. Besides this, it is a business-oriented and commercial. It has to look about the commercial aspects. It has to look about the trading business. So all these things has really come up into the electricity organization, and now Telangana is being appreciated by even the central agencies, CEC and even other agencies. So this is how Telangana is going ahead, moving forward to develop the Telangana state. As a result of the visionary Chief Minister, he has brought up the 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗺 project. You see, they have established about 130 megawatt pumps, 6 130 MV megawatt power motors at each pumping station. At the 7th, they were pumping 600 meters to the height by Godavari to 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁. As a result, what happened? Your paddy production and maize production has increased manifold. Even paddy has increased 3 times. Even the maize has increased. Now there is no dearth of any food grains in Telangana area. Now we are able to supply to Tamil Nadu, Kerala, not only in southern states, even in the entire country. That is what our Honorable Chief Minister vision has resulted. So this is how. So coming, it is not only the overall distinction. See, now we are serving about the 27 lakhs of agriculture consumers. 24-hour supply we are giving to the agriculture. This is one of the states where 24-hour supply is giving to the agriculture sector without any interruption, uninterruptedly, qualitatively we are giving to the so many agricultural consumers. This agriculture population is almost 1/10 of the total consumers. So now we are having a more than 2.7 crores of consumers, almost half of the population of the Telangana state. We are supplying the electricity. Now everybody is thinking, electricity, how the people will survive. So don't make any interruption to the, even if they do not pay, let them give a chance. So that is how electricity has taken over all other essential things. Even the water, air, it has taken over by the electricity. Now electricity has got that promised area. We have supplied already to 2,200 villages. Where they are now growing, their economic conditions are being developed. They are growing the paddy, etc., etc. Not only that, they are also living luxuriously with the help, with provision of this electricity. So our state government is doing all best to all types of the consumers, all types of the people in the state. This is how. See, for that, electricity organization is a vital, and he is always praising the electricity organization wherever he speaks. So this is how the electricity organization is working for the benefit of the people, benefit of the consumers, and benefit of the uplift of the mankind. So this is how this electricity organization is going up. For statistical purpose, see, our demand has increased threefold. Our before and after, its demand has increased threefold, and daily we are supplying at the rate of 300 million units. So we are not interested in finances. See, finances, government will in some way it will provide some finances at any time. So this way we are supplying 300 million. It is really a great achievement of Telangana. So then our demand is meeting. There is recently about 15,000. We have crossed even 15,000. It was roughly touching about 16,000 megawatt demand, which is never seen in the history of these and Andhra Pradesh also. So this way, the electricity organization is going up like anything. So in this way, this organization is doing, and we are here to help the mankind. As a result, the electricity organization is really doing some marvelous activity in developing of the states and being appreciated by one and all. So similarly, we are even the Honorable Chief Minister the best. Okay. Coming to, of course, now I want to conclude because we are in a hurry to move to the next, but I already requested the Vijay Kumar to permit me to go to that so that it should not be a hindrance to the, but anyhow he has insisted and we have come, and I thank the organization for having invited me. I thank the organization for having invited me. I hope all the dignitaries and all the students will think of this organization, think of the future mankind, how you should be able to help them, how you should be generous in extending your knowledge to the various fields to see that the environmental conditions or the pollutions or anything is related to the science and technology. Even the medical field also depend on the electricity, not only this and the, so I thank once again the committee for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Moving on further, integrity, insight, and inclusiveness are the three essential qualities of leadership. One such leader is Professor D. Ravindra, sir. Professor D. Ravindra, sir.
The inaugural function also has to rush to attend another meeting. So in view of that, I think I'm extremely sorry. Had the opportunity to interact with the mining alumni. The first time Dr. Venkatamaya Garu, who organized the meeting in the Golconda Hotel, where the our former Vice Chancellor Professor Ramachandran was also there. He initiated certain reforms which we have been continuing during my tenure also. I think I thank Professor Ramachandran Garu because when he took over the Vice Chancellor, he gave me the opportunity. I am the first principal during his tenure, 2017. So I was also very closely worked with Professor Ramachandran Garu. That's why I think, and the successor also got that opportunity, and also continuing in similar lines on the upliftment of the overall upliftment of the Osmania city. I think the major contribution with the help of the Osmania Alumni Association. I think it's a source of inspiration. Wherever I go, I am saying this word that the Osmania Engineering Alumni Association is nothing but Osmania alumnus. But it is well established and is also working very well, and it's also paying back to the great university, which is nothing but in the social sciences considered as a social capital. So paying back to institution, paying back to university, it is a social capital. I think there's a lot of capital which we have, the intellectual capital, and apart from the contributions from the proud alumni. Wherever we go, we found from the Delhi and other parts of the country. I think that is the strength of the Osmania University. I think if we have to tap their resources, tap the intellectual inputs, particularly overall development of the university. I think the young minds which are sitting in front of me, my dear students, I think you take inspiration from the great alumni who contributed to this great university. And apart from that, which you have also providing a lot of institutions which have established in the Osmania University, like if you want to become a civil servant, we established the Civil Services Academy in the Osmania University. Those who are interested, please come to Civil Service Academy, which is coming to start from 3rd of this May, and all kinds of facilities and all kinds of training also which you would like to give from the Civil Service Academy. If you wanted to placement and training cell and internationalization of the education, for that we have created another institution that known as Human Capital Development Center, which is located in the CFRD, that provide all kind of information and internationally your education and guidance also. The third one related, if you wanted to institutions, that we created the first university after JNU, when we met 𝗵𝗏 Garu, who is the Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, who said that the university is the first university which established the Center for Indo-Pacific Studies. That I think which you have to provide the opportunity to move either America or Australia or Canada, Australia and the US, Australia and Japan. So these countries are which linked with the Indo-Pacific studies. If anybody interested to us and exchange of faculty and the students also, which we are working on that. The fourth one which we have strengthened, in fact it was established during the Professor 𝗬𝗏 Garu, the Innovation Osmania Technology Incubation Center. I think now it's moving in a fast growing center. I think if you have an idea, please come to Innovation Center, which will provide on free of cost. The seats are available. I think I welcome all the engineering college students. If you come up with the 3 students or 5 students, the chairs are there. You come with an idea, we'll provide the opportunity, and we'll also provide linkage with the industries also. That is also Technology Incubation Center, which is located in the CFRD. I think with these few words, I think I congratulate the principal and the Alumni Association jointly. Thank you.
I would request you to please address the gathering.
Yeah, good morning to all of you. I didn't hear that they invited me to speak. In the midst of the dignitaries leaving, so obviously I did not hear. Anyway, the dignitaries on the days and of the days, alumni. Yeah, first of all, my congratulations for alumni for conducting the International Conference on Engineering, Emerging Engineering Trends. I understand it is a great success because I have seen, the speakers coming from all over and then giving their valuable lectures. Yeah, so in fact, this alumni association was started or restarted in 2015, if I remember correctly. And then since then, actually, it has grown in leaps and bounds and started doing a great job, actually. So, in fact, the credit goes to them. We have brought back this mining engineering department. Credit goes to them. We have actually, brought a lot of we should appreciate. And yeah, it's not easy to keep it going. Yeah, maybe there are a few students also here who become now alumni, so they should take the lead from these alumni who are doing a wonderful job, and there will be an opportunity for all of them to contribute to this alma mater as well. Yeah, I don't know, all the important persons are outside. I don't know whom I'm speaking actually. But then I congratulate the alumni for doing a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
research, infrastructure, and outreach. Under 4 verticals, the engineering college is in forefront in implementation of the curriculum reforms and outreach activities. Presently, Director, IIT Hyderabad. And also we intend first time students, we are recording video and photographs and also offline recording, like we are taking through offline and implementing good points raised by the students in terms of curriculum, in terms of the infrastructure. And also all our distribution, we have laid foundation basis of 𝗧-𝗦𝗔𝗧 College Hostel 1, that is known as Kinder Hostel. So recently on 11th of April, Honorable Minister of Education, Srimati 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 garu laid foundation stone in the presence of Honorable Vice Chancellor and also Registrar, so that the problem of hostel will be solved in soon. And one more thing is already Dr. Vijay Kumar already mentioned, but it is my duty to mention and acknowledge the Coal India Limited, which has been sanctioned now, Chair Professor for the Mining India Department. They have donated 3 crore rupees towards endowment fund, and out of that interest, we are going to appoint professors of professor chair for the mining engineering department. And also one more good news is that was here, delivered the keynote address, she agreed to establish AI lab, artificial intelligence lab, in the college for the benefit of all the students, and the nodal department is the ECE department. We have already identified the space. She readily accepted to establish the AI lab for the benefit of all the interdisciplinary programs, like all the 7 programs. One more thing is, we are planned to construct a separate building for mining engineering, and the Mining Engineering Alumni Association, once it is joined, it has become double engine. So earlier only single cylinder was there for our engine. Now we have double cylinders, not engines, that is double cylinder. The power has become double and the acceleration has increased almost 4 times to get funding for various agencies, particularly the mining. And I thank the Alumni Association of Mining, Osmania University, for taking very keen interest and working hard to get the Coal India Limited Professor Chair and also Singareni Calories Company Limited Professor Chair to the mining department. And also they are working towards the construction of the department for mining engineering. Already Sri 𝗘𝗍𝗺 Garu already donated $1 lakh towards the construction of the classroom complex. And we have already opened an account, and we have got it estimated. I hope that maybe May ending or June first week, we should lay a foundation stone for the construction of separate building for mining engineering department. And also planning to construct a separate classroom complex for computer science and engineering department and also electrical engineering department. So electrical engineering department also working hard to get money from various companies through CSR and alumni. And with this, we are moving towards the stated objective of the reform, perform and transform, the slogan mooted by Honorable Vice Chancellor, and always engineering college is in forefront to implement any reform. So particularly this UG, PG programs have been revamped drastically, and this is the first college to implement all such reforms. That is the towards the meeting the objectives of higher education, particularly the governing body members and chairman already informed that no, there should be certain committees, and we are taking all the steps, all the suggestions as positive, and committed to develop the college to IIT level.